There is a road somewhere in the upper west region of Ghana. A dirt track, narrow and uneven, cutting through farmland that produces some of the finest yam and maize in West Africa. When the rains come, that road turns to mud. Trucks cannot pass. Farmers cannot move their harvest. Food that took months to grow rots by the side of the track because nobody can get it to market in time. That is not a story unique to the Upper West. It is the story of rural Ghana, repeated across 9 regions for decades. And it is the problem that a brand new $500 million World Bank project is designed to solve. On May 28, 2026, the World Bank formally approved $500 million in financing for what is called the Ghana Market Access and Connectivity Project, shortened to GMACP. The announcement was made in Washington, and it marks one of the most significant infrastructure investments in Ghana's agricultural heartland in many years. The project will be implemented by Ghana's Ministry of Roads and Highways, and it targets the rehabilitation and maintenance of more than 1,000 kilometers of feeder roads across 9 regions of the country. Now before we go deeper, let us understand exactly what we are talking about when we say feeder roads. In Ghana, the road network is divided into 3 broad categories. You have the trunk roads, which are the major highways and intercity corridors managed by the Ghana Highway Authority. Then you have urban roads, which are managed by the Department of Urban Roads. And then you have feeder roads. These are the rural access roads, the community roads, the farm tracks that connect villages, farming communities, and local markets to the wider road network. They are managed by the Department of Feeder Roads under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. They are the last mile and they are the most neglected. Without them, nothing else works. You can build a brand new expressway from Accra to Kumasi. You can upgrade the Tema port. You can install warehousing facilities and cold storage depots. But if a farmer in Winchi or Bono East or the northern region cannot get their produce from their field to the nearest lorry station because the feeder road is impassable, then all of that other infrastructure means nothing to them. The feeder road is the foundation. Everything else sits on top of it. This is why the GMACP matters. The $500 million project will rehabilitate and maintain critical feeder roads spread across 4 regional clusters, covering 9 regions in total. Those regions are the Upper West, Northern, Savannah, Odi, Volta, Eastern, Ashanti, Bono, and Western regions. If you look at a map of Ghana, you are essentially covering the length of the country from the far north to the south and cutting across the middle. These are not randomly selected areas. They are the major production zones for Ghana's most important staple crops, including maize, rice, yam, and cassava. These are the crops at the center of Ghana's food security. These are the crops that fill markets in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, and Tamale. And for too long, the farmers who grow these crops have been cut off from those markets by broken roads. The World Bank has been clear about what poor road conditions have been costing Ghana. According to the bank, inadequate feeder road infrastructure has limited market access for rural farmers, driven up transport costs, and contributed to significant post-harvest food losses. When roads are bad, transporters charge more because the journey takes longer and wears out their vehicles faster. Those higher transport costs are passed back to the farmer, who receives less for their goods, and passed forward to the consumer, who pays more in the market. Food inflation in part is a road problem. And that insight is baked into the design of the GMACP. The project directly addresses these issues by rehabilitating critical feeder roads and ensuring all-season connectivity between rural production areas and key markets. All-season connectivity is important to emphasize here. Not just dry-season roads. Not gravel tracks that work in January but collapse in June. The project incorporates climate-resilient designs to ensure that roads and drainage systems can withstand future climate-related risks. Given that Ghana, like most of West Africa, is experiencing increasingly erratic rainfall patterns, that is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Robert Taliercho, the World Bank Division Director for Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, spoke directly to the expected impact of the project. He said the initiative would significantly improve livelihoods in rural communities while enhancing Ghana's agricultural competitiveness and resilience. He put numbers to the expected human impact as well. The project is expected to directly benefit more than 550,000 people. Within that figure, approximately 350,000 are farmers, 250,000 are women, and 310,000 are youth. Those numbers overlap, meaning many of the women and youth are also among the farmers, but the point is that the project is targeting the most economically vulnerable segments of rural Ghana and giving them infrastructure they have not had before. On top of that, the project is expected to generate more than 5,000 direct jobs through civil works and road construction activities, and more than 25,000 indirect jobs through road maintenance, logistics, trade facilitation, and the wider economic activity that improved connectivity unlocks. This funding did not come from nowhere. President John Dramani Mahama first publicly announced that his government had secured this facility in March 2026, during his Resetting Ghana tour. Speaking at the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Wenchi in the Bono region, Mahama told stakeholders that the $500 million was aimed specifically at tackling the poor state of rural roads that connect farming communities to major markets and transport routes. The formal World Bank approval followed in late May, confirming what had been announced earlier in the year. The project also aligns with a much broader commitment that the Mahama government made in the 2026 national budget. In that budget, the government committed to constructing 1,000 kilometers of what it called agricultural enclave roads as a deliberate policy response to food inflation and falling farmer incomes. The GMACP is the financing vehicle that gives that budget commitment real teeth. In the same budget, Ghana earmarked approximately 30.8 billion cedis, the equivalent of around $2.6 billion, for road infrastructure across the 2026 fiscal year. That envelope covers national roads, regional roads, rural access roads, and cross-border corridors aimed at deepening Ghana's economic integration with the wider West African subregion. The World Bank $500 million is a significant part of that wider road agenda. But let us now step back and ask a bigger question. Why does this matter beyond Ghana? Because the feeder road problem is not a Ghanaian problem. It is an African problem. Across sub-Saharan Africa, agricultural productivity is consistently undermined not by a lack of land, not by a lack of labor, and not always by a lack of rainfall, but by infrastructure that prevents farmers from getting their goods to market. Post-harvest losses across Africa are estimated to cost the continent tens of billions of dollars annually. A significant share of that loss is caused by poor rural road connectivity. When you fix the roads, you fix part of the food system. And when you fix the food system, you reduce food insecurity, reduce inflation, and raise rural incomes. Ghana, with this project, is making a statement that investing in feeder roads is not charity to rural communities. It is an economic strategy. Every cedi that reduces post-harvest losses is a cedi that stays in the economy. Every kilometer of rehabilitated road that brings a farmer closer to a buyer is a piece of supply chain integration that benefits the entire country. The World Bank understands this, which is why it has structured the GMACP not just as a road rehabilitation project but as an agricultural value chain development project. The roads are the means. The end is a more competitive, more connected, more resilient Ghanaian agricultural economy. There is still a great deal of work ahead. 1,000 kilometers of feeder roads across 9 regions with climate-resilient construction standards is an enormous undertaking. Implementation will require strong project management by the Ministry of Roads and Highways. It will require accountability mechanisms to ensure that the money goes where it is supposed to go and that the roads that are built to specification. Ghana has a mixed history with infrastructure project delivery, and the scrutiny that comes with a World Bank-financed intervention should help enforce standards. But ultimately, the work will be done by Ghanaians on Ghanaian soil for Ghanaian farmers. And when that farmer in the Upper West or in Odi or in the Northern region can finally load their yam onto a truck on a smooth, all-weather road and watch it travel to a market in Accra without rotting by the roadside, that will be the real measure of what this $500 million achieved. Ghana is building its foundation, one feeder road at a time.